everybody's dead, but like nobody's really dead. American Horror Story, 1984, Episode 5, Red Dawn, review and breakdown. Hey Twisted People, it's your Twisted Girl here, and today I am doing a review and breakdown of Episode 5 of American Horror Story, 1984. So I will admit I definitely had the WTF face a lot throughout this episode, especially with the major twists and turns. There were so many twists and turns in the last two episodes, and definitely with this one, and this was kind of just like a major 180 turn, or maybe just a new chapter of this season in regard to what we thought we were going to get with most of this season and what we ended up kind of going into the territory of this season. I mean, the fact that there's like redwood, it's sort of like a purgatory for some of them, and we saw people die, but they're not totally dead. They're kind of ghosts that can like touch and kill people and also have sex with people, clearly. And so I'm really actually very excited to see where this is going to go, because I think what I thought we were going to get was the whole season of them in this one night and things happening in this one night. And then I was, pleasantly surprised that daylight came, the campers showed up, and it just, everything totally shifted. And I think this is really good because as I wondered from the very beginning, if you saw my episode 1 review and breakdown of this season, I wondered how they were going to do this for 10 whole episodes, that kind of premise of the slasher flick. So, because slasher flicks are mostly usually like an hour 20 to hour 30 minutes. How are you going to do 10 hours worth of that? So I really like the supernatural angle we seem to be getting. And I kind of wonder what is now the actual danger, if you look at it, because before it was like, oh, these people might get killed, but a lot of them did die, and now what? We got fake Rita, aka Dee Dee's backstory when it came to her serial killer daddy. I thought it was interesting to get her backstory a little bit further as to what was making her tick. I kind of like that it wasn't just this idea that she, might have just been obsessed with serial killers and wanted to see the good in them, but more so it had to do with her father and the fact that her dad was a serial killer and he straight up killed himself in front of her, which was very brutal. And so I like that was her motivation. And I also think it's a very interesting concept, the idea that maybe she's battling with the evil inside of herself. Does she now turn into a serial killer, a psychopath? Has she always kind of been that way and now she totally accepted it? And I think her wanting some sort of retribution for it by wanting Jingles to kill her and of course him not killing her was an interesting angle, and I'm curious to see where they go with her character next, because it's like, where do you go from here knowing you caused the deaths of so many people and you thought you were doing something good, and in reality you totally weren't, but maybe she always sort of knew that. Margaret kills Xavier and also maybe Chet. So big ups to Xavier for like doing his Robin Hood impersonation and killing Jingles, who totally deserved it in a way, because yes, Jingles was not a killer when he first went into the asylum, but he did come out of it and he did like almost burn Xavier to death and kill a couple of people. So it's not like he was completely innocent. So it was totally justify that Xavier did what he did. Although I would have hoped that Jingles would have killed Margaret before he did that, because what happened was that Margaret killed Xavier. Oh my gosh. And so he went out that way, but then we might see he might be coming back, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But then she also kills Chet, supposedly. Now, Chet went down in the water, but we didn't see him actually die. And I think with a show like this, you can never give total 100% truth to what you see all the time. And so I think because we didn't see Chet's body, because we didn't see his body pulled out or put in a body bag or anything like that, that there's a very good chance that he might have survived. So I think that'll be interesting. And it kind of turns out he was the nicest one of the group. Ramirez brings Jingles back from the dead. So Mr. Jingles supposedly has, sworn his loyalty to Satan, just like Ramirez has. This is very weird. I don't know if I necessarily signed up for a thing where Ramirez is sort of, this very real, brutal serial killer is pretty much being made semi one of the main characters and main focal points of this season in a way. I think it's a little bit of a borderline there when it comes to the fact that he actually did have actual real victims in real life, right? And so it's a little weird to see him kind of make jokes and kind of be charming and kind of funny and stuff. I know they've made him this kind of fictional demon sort of guy, but it's also like, well, he was actually a real person. Now, I'm not putting a morality stick on this show because, I mean, yes, this is American Horror Story. You kind of have to put your moral compass at the front door when it comes to many of these characters anyway. But I thought that was interesting that he brought Jingles back. I do wonder, and I'll talk about it a little bit later, where we see that Ramirez and Jingles leave because they head for Los Angeles. Why did Jingles necessarily give up on killing Margaret? Why not come back and then take her out finally and kind of wait for it? Because she's the reason all of this happened to him. But yeah, that happened, and I guess we'll see them wreaking havoc in Los Angeles. Ray's a ghost, and Brooke had sex with him. So yeah, that happened too. And yeah, this is interesting. Yeah, the ghost can touch people in Redwood. We kind of saw that with the hiker that killed, right? That was killed earlier, that he could touch people and things. So we knew that Ray would be able to touch people. It was interesting to see Ray come back. I still say no prayers for Ray because he turned into being a really, bad jerk. And maybe they'll have a redemption arc for him now that he's a total ghost. I kind of liked, the moment with him and Brooke. I thought it was very sweet, especially knowing that he was dead now, but he was very determined to protect her. So that was fine. And then she lost her virginity, supposedly, to him. So she lost her virginity to a ghost. Yeah. Yeah, that's going to stay with you. That's going to haunt you. Ba-dum-bump. Brooke kills Montana. So that was a little anticlimactic. I mean, all of this stuff with Montana, being so, bloodthirsty and everything. And Brooke totally takes her out, which makes you think that Brooke kind of has this undercurrent of maybe a killer inside of her, since, everyone seems to kind of be into it in this show to a certain degree. But I wasn't I knew Montana probably wasn't going to win the fight because I didn't think they would give it to her of being able to kill Brooke. I just didn't think she'd go out the way she did so quickly, although we see she does come back like everyone else seems to. So, yeah, that happened. And then Brooke gets, taken away in handcuffs. Which is typical, right? The almost nicest person, because I still think that was Chet that was actually turned out to be the nicest person, but Brooke, being the innocent person at least in all of this, ends up getting framed by Margaret. Yeah. Ray, Montana, and the hiker from earlier in the season kind of reconvene. We see that Montana is also in Camp Redwood as a ghost, semi-purgatory sort of thing going on. Ray is saying, she kills a cop, basically, and Ray's like, what the heck, Montana, you can't just kill a cop. It's kind of like a sitcom of Ghost, sort of, which would be an interesting sitcom. I think it's been done already, but I think I'd watch that show. So now they're stuck in Camp Redwood in Purgatory. Montana seems to be loving it. Ray, not so much. The hiker didn't say much. I guess we're going to expound more into what that means for them when it happens. But yeah, it was an interesting twist, this idea that people die, but they don't stay dead at Camp Redwood. That's a good tagline. And I think it just takes us into a whole new territory. We started this season out with a slasher sort of flick, and now we're getting haunted ghost vibes. So much happened, but in a very good way. I'm really excited to see what the next couple of episodes are going to entail because for all intents and purposes, like the first chapter of this season, I'm going to call it a chapter, ended, right? We thought it was a slasher flick. There was a killer. The killer ends up framing the final girl, right? So that's kind of the end of that. But then we see that there's ghosts and there's 2 serial killers who are now on the loose in Los Angeles. So how does this all come back together, right? Because seemingly everyone's separated, like Brooke was led away, arrested. Ramirez and Jingles went back to Los Angeles. I don't know where Chet is. Margaret seems to be running the camp. And then you have Montana and Ray kind of there as ghosts. So it's kind of like, where is this all going? How does it keep, staying with the whole 1984 camp vibe with all of the characters? Or are we going to see for the rest of the season, everyone's just kind of separated and we're following these characters that we started out with? I will say that I really need someone to kill Margaret. I was just so tired of her. Like, not like, oh, this is such a bad character, but like, oh my gosh, if any character deserves to get killed, it's her. Like, the fact that she got away with it again the second time is just kind of like, I know there's no real good karma when it comes to American Horror Story seasons and characters, but I do think it's kind of weird that out of everyone, she keeps getting to kind of come out on top and just killing people off one by one. And it's like, what's going to stop her? And I kind of hope that with Montana and them there and able to kill people, that they decide to just take her out. It would just be crazy if they don't do that. My prediction is that Xavier is definitely a ghost. He'll come back somehow. I also hope that we haven't seen the last of Big D Trevor. I mean, now that we know that people who die at Camp Redwood can be brought back, maybe he's there too. So I'm hoping that is the case. And I kind of wonder if Chet didn't die, that maybe he'll come back as well. So all of them are just like ghost camp counselors killing people. I think that would be pretty interesting. I do also wonder if the people that Jingles killed on the site as well are going to come back, though, because Jingles killed a few people. He killed his psychologist on the road. I think she was in Camp Redwood. Maybe she was right outside of the domain, though. So maybe that's why she didn't come back, or we didn't see her again. But then he killed some other people there, right? He killed the impersonators, the Jingles impersonators. So do they get to come back too? It's kind of like, who gets to come back? And also, if they all don't get to come back, why do specific people get to come back? I think we're going to have to dive into that a little bit. I'm interested to see what's going to be the reasoning for why some people get to come back and why we didn't see other characters walking around. Like, why is Ray the first person that we see? Why don't we see Big D Trevor, since I think Big D Trevor died before Ray did? No, actually, Big D Trevor died after Ray. Okay. Yeah, Ray died before Big D Trevor did. So then that would mean that Big D Trevor can now come back. I'd like to see him again. Okay, y'all, so that is my review and breakdown of American Horror Story 1984, Episode 5, Red Dawn. What did you think of this episode? Did you have some pros? Did you have some cons when it came to what went down? Do you like the twists and turns? Do you have some predictions on what is going to happen next? Let me know. Comment down below with your thoughts. And also, be sure to subscribe. And also, be sure to press that chime bell alert button, whatever it's called, so that you are the first to know when I post my videos of all things horror and dark fantasy. Thanks for exploring these twisted thoughts with me.